to Recovering Strong Black Woman. My name is Imanda Berry, and here at Recovering Strong Black Woman, we talk about everything from law of attraction to manifestation to wellness and spirituality to ultimately living life in your own damn terms. And on today's episode, I'm excited for a guest appearance by one of my favorite people in the entire world. You get J-Rob, Joy Robinson, and I'm going to kick it over to her to introduce herself and talk a little bit about herself, and then we'll go into the topic for today.
All right, thank you, Iman DeBerry. My name is Joy Robinson. I am a traveler by trade. I've spent the last 10 years traveling around the world, teaching. Has mostly been what I've done, but I've done other working holiday visas and things as well to kind of get out and travel and explore the world around me. And right now I'm currently curating Grounded with Joy, which is a travel agency / content creation lab where I am doing everything talking about travel, especially like in the COVID era.
Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about our story. So actually, it's like officially a year, I think, maybe more than a year. So I think like a year ago this time, I was like, I don't know how the conversation started. So Joy, you correct me if I'm wrong, but
okay.
And I was like, yo, I want to create this this platform. This Recovering Strong Black Woman came to me after a therapy session. And I was like, I'm a recovering strong Black woman. Like, I'm not putting up with some of the shit that I used to. And it just connected, and it just something in my spirit knew that was it, right? But I had tried to do creative stuff in the past, and I knew that was very much part of my calling. Like, I have always done something along this line. And Joy can attest, I've known this woman since 2005, right? I've always been, beat progressive and these things, carrying crystals and stuff for a very long time. But I didn't know how to bring it to life. And I knew that about myself at that point of I can work my butt off, but I didn't know how to bring the vision to life. And Joy and I were having a conversation, and then something came up, was like, yo, we're just gonna start holding each other accountable. Now, a lot of times we know that we would have these conversations of like, girlfriends, family, whatever, like we're gonna hold each other accountable. It's still nothing happens. But something miraculous happened, and I think we really did hold each other accountable, and it really helped us to push our vision farther than we could have certainly carried it alone. And then it also helped us in a lot of different areas of our life too. So right. That's what I remember. And I think the big thing that kind of came out of our conversation was Content Sunday. Basically, Content Sunday was, listen, and I think we tried first, like maybe different days of the week, like a Wednesday or something like that. And we were like, listen.
I think we did too. I think that for us, the main thing that we wanted to get across was that we created a time to be consistent. I think that was our main goal. So we did kind of struggle finding the day at first.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? Number one, we are pursuing these visions, right? Which is already scary. And you got to be very vulnerable to live out your vision or your purpose out loud and share with other people. But we're doing that also, like healing, exploring, traveling, dealing with COVID, working, like all those stresses still continued. So it was
in the middle of COVID, friend. I think that's also like a very big thing as well. Like COVID is just a very different time to be doing anything.
Yeah. And we decided, life is already crazy. So let's go ahead and take another leap of faith, right?
And we sounds about right.
And we did. But so here's what I'll tell you, like Content Sundays are like. So Content Sundays are an opportunity, just like, it's real easy. It's like, hey friend, how's the vision going, right? And then what are you committing to do for the next week? And I thought that was very helpful for me, because I know I'm like, I don't have like an in-between gear. It is either like drive or park. And if I feel like I can't drive, I can't knock it out the park, then sometimes I'm just like in my car, sitting, chilling, can't do nothing. And it can be like debilitating at sometimes, especially when you're trying to be in more of a creative space. So it was nice because it gave me the freedom to say, okay, what is realistic for me to accomplish? Still being an employee in some of these things, healing, going to therapy, all these other things. I'm like, okay, what can I actually accomplish? So in those first couple of months, it had nothing to do with actually creating content. It was just like,
No,
I feel like it was exercise.
I feel like we didn't actually even get to actually creating content until maybe like March.
Yes.
Like I feel like at first it was definitely just like keeping us accountable, figuring out what our vision was for what we wanted to do. Even like down to colors, like what colors do I like? What colors give me the feeling that I want when I look at my page? Like it was just very basic, but it was important to have like that sounding board when we were trying to figure things out, because as Black women, especially, like we don't always have, you know, a bunch of people or resources. So it's important to be able to talk things out with other Black women, especially if that's like your base.
And it was cool too, because we were also sharing ideas, which is nice. And like for free 99, right? So like you go on, like now you'll find these content creators of, you know, $500,000, $1 million, and I will teach you how to do it too for $59.95. And it was really like, yo, we're figuring this out together for free 99. I found a nugget. Hey, I found this information. I'm gonna send it to you. Oh, here's this vlogging kit. Yo, you try this. And it was really helpful for me of just like being able to kind of plan out just the ideas, because Joy, I don't know about you, but I feel like the biggest barrier to actually starting, you know, content or living, and really I say content, which is very like trendy,
very broad as a general,
living out your purpose. Because ultimately when it comes down to it, I feel like for us, the things that we are doing are things that we have always been about and we have always expressed. And now we just have a platform to really do it and connect with more people. But I feel like the hardest thing is getting out of your own head. I feel like it's challenging. Like, I mean, really, it took, like I said, I feel like it took a couple of months just to get out the way. And I know, listen, y'all, the thing I enjoy here just all the time is I never have enjoyed being in front of a camera. I always call myself the dad of the group. I mean, like way back, like even in college, I'm taking pictures of other people. I'm documenting other things. Like I like doing that. I like seeing everything coming together. It's weird for me to be
in front of the camera. And to be fair, that's something that I struggle with as well. Although for me, it's a little bit different because it being travel, I don't necessarily need to be in front of the camera. People like to see, you know, beaches and you know, food. So that makes it a little bit easier. But you know, it's hard because you do also have to be the face of your own brand, and that's a difficult thing if you like to be behind the camera.
Yeah, and it's really you learn, I guess, through the experience about getting out your comfort zone. So I guess one piece of advice I think I would share with everybody is, one, pace yourself, because there's so many people, even in other initiatives that I have like tried, people are like, well, just go for it. Honey, that is easier said than done, right? You gotta be in alignment for that to come. And if you're not, I think it's okay to like pause, take a beat, learn from what you've learned from that, and then continue. But I think also it's very nice to just start with the infrastructure versus like the end goal, right? Like, don't worry how you're going to create money. Don't worry about how you're going to attract people that find your content or your information valuable. Just start with, okay, what's the name? Which platforms do I want to reach out on? And just start with the basics, because when you start with the basics, I don't know, for me, it was a little bit more comforting because it felt more like a checklist. It felt just easier to like execute. And then it gave me the confidence to start with some of the content stuff.
Yeah, agree.
So I guess talking about being flexible, I would say something else I think we have experienced over the past year is everybody makes content creation seem so glamorous, but y'all, it's real hard work. It's real hard work, and it's for free. Okay, it's hard work. You're not earning an income. Like I'm certainly not in a place where I have begun to monetize my passion yet, but the universe is bringing it to me with ease. I'm affirming that. But you really have to be flexible, because in life there is going to be times where I feel like you just can't create, and people don't talk about that enough. Like, you have to recharge, right? Like, even artists aren't like, they create, but they also pause from creation. And I don't feel like there's enough conversation about that. About, okay, I done had a tough work week, but I got to do this vlog, or I got to do this, whatever. Like, you got to give yourself permission to rest and say, you know, I'm burnt out. I don't know what to create next. And we gonna figure it out. I don't know. That's my thoughts. What's your thoughts, Joy?
I think that content creation is really, it can be really difficult. But I also feel like sometimes you get inspired by something, and that makes it just so much easier to kick out content, because it's like, okay, I'm really inspired by, X, Y, and Z, and here's how I can, use it A, B, and C way. So I feel like you do have like these ebbs and flows when it comes to content creation, because sometimes you're right, like you feel like you want to rest and you don't have that creativity. And I feel like there's definitely, you can feel the difference. You can feel like when you are like thoroughly like inspired by something and it helps you to create more and more content. And you can also feel when you aren't as inspired, but you still feel like this need to do this again. But I do think that one of the best things that we did was like trying to plan like a month ahead. I feel like that it made it so much easier for me to have like those down times where I'm like, I don't really feel like creating, and like, those high times where it's like, oh, like I'm feeling so inspired today. Let me just go out and create all this content.
Ooh, so I feel like dive into that, friend, because people don't know what you're talking about. So like walk them through how we do that and which platform.
Well, I mean, I've used a couple of different platforms, but one of the things that we decided pretty early on in our content creation days was that it was just easier for us to create content for a month at a time. So it would be like planning out days like Motivation Monday, and like planning that out. Like, what does that look like every day for the month? And, Travel Tuesday, what does that look like every day for a month? And just being able to go into, the platform that you chose. What did you use for that? I can't remember.
I love Later app is the one that I use, and it takes me more out.
I like Later. I liked Hootsuite as well. But yeah, like just using apps like that help you plan out your content. And I think I liked Later a lot because you could see how it looked.
Yeah.
Without publishing it. So you could go in and you could see what your content looked like for the month. And it made a big difference to me, because I'm like, I don't really like how that looks here. Let me move this piece here. Let me move this piece here. And it helped me like create, like it helped that vision that I had in my head for my page. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, that batch creation was a game changer, because no one I feel like some people talk about it, but a lot of it is just like trial and error. And I think we were just like, we got to figure out how to do this when life gets crazy, because we just know that's the reality. Is like, I don't have every day to go outside, take a cute picture and create something witty, like in the midst of living and adulting and hydrating and working out and, meditating and all these other things. And once again, still traveling. Like there's so much going on that's just not realistic. So I think sometimes like you have to make sure, like, what is your vision? And then how can you also just leverage technology to get it done?
Because I feel like you and I both have pretty demanding jobs. And then we both had like a promotion at some point in the last year as well. That that just into like overdrive, and so I feel like that was kind of one of the things that we had figured out early enough in the game, that when that came into play again, it didn't throw us off as much as it could have.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we both had some big girl promotions this year, which is awesome for us, but still we're like, hey, we still have there's this calling, this yearning to still do this other stuff. And how do you do that? I think at the end of the day, I think we're still navigating and figure out what that looks like, which is for me, I'm okay with, because we are still practicing and exploring. And I think that is the lesson. The lesson is, being limble and being willing to explore different things and to see your vision come out in a different way, and just being okay with how that comes out, because all that is still an expression. Your stuff is still out there. You're still sharing it. So I think for me, that's one of the beautiful takeaways still. Okay.
I think that it's also important to have, I think that one of the reasons we were both able to really succeed is because we both had a sounding board. Like, because sometimes when things just didn't sound right to me, like, yes, we had like our Sundays, but I could send you a text on a Tuesday morning and you'd be like, no, like, friend, try this, or, you know, maybe think about this, friend, or like, you know, you would see something like, I see this being something that you could try in your blog. And I think that that really helps as well. I do.
All the time it'll be like, oh, I saw, like, I might find like some travel inspo. I'm like, oh, Joy, like, buddy, I think this could work. Or it could be like sending something and she's like, oh no, girl, that's crazy, this look good. And you're like, because once again, it's like that in your mind, because giving this out it's a different type of vulnerability, right? Because you have to
and as Black women, it's already difficult to be vulnerable as a Black woman. It just is. And again, we have the kind of jobs where we don't always get to be vulnerable. So sometimes that's hard in our private life too.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, and to kind of bounce off that, buddy, here's the reality is that Black women are often given fewer opportunities to make a mistake and bounce back. So it's almost like every time I remember I just had to tell myself, because like my buddy here, Joy, she is a grammar whiz, right? That's what she does. That is her business. She's an educator. That's what she does. I can bring the words to the table, but I have always, if I'm like reading through something in my mind and I'm constantly going over it, the words would get jumbled up, right? Probably a form of dyslexia. Who knows? But so if I'm constantly like reading over something, I mean, it is what it is. But if I'm constantly reading over something, I can see the beginning and ends of a word and just jump to a conclusion that don't even make no sense, right? So when I'm creating and I'm like feeling real excited and frantic and I'm just going and I'm writing, then it's hard for me to really kind of catch out some of those things. And that's something that has, like, from a content thing, that has always been more intimidating, right? Now, when it comes to business, I'm typically providing the same type of context and information, so that doesn't challenge me as much. But when it came to this, I was really nervous about, like, dang, what if I have a grammatical error or the spelling thing? And eventually I said, but who gives a damn? Like, I will. My reality is that I will invest in tools that makes it easier, makes me feel more empowered. I will slow down. I'll create content on one day. I will edit and proof it a different day. So like, I'm like not in like my creator frenzy. That for me has been helpful. But those type of things is like, the reality is Black women aren't often given grace when they make mistakes. So a lot of times that plays into the content creation. So that's why it is so, so, so important to have a tribe around you that supports you in your vision, because those things are going to come up. Everyone's going to have their different things, right? And you've got to have people around who will allow you to be vulnerable and say, listen, girl, this ain't always going to be my thing. And then, you know, they can support you through that. And I definitely got that here. Period. Okay, so those are our content Sundays. So, you know, Joy, I know, you know, not everyone, right? So we're introducing new people, but you have been I feel like I can't think of a time when I can't think about joy and traveling in the same sentence, which I know sounds crazy, but I feel like it's just always been a part of the you that I've known. Like, so even before, like, you were jet setting, you were, you know, into global politics, like you were always very much a global citizen. How do you feel like that came into your desire to start your passion project and even the profession that you chose? And how did that all kind of come together for you?
So I fell into teaching English very oddly. I have a fear of speaking in front of people. To this day, I don't like speaking in front of people. The only way I'm comfortable doing it is as the teacher in the classroom. I have no fear. But if you put me on a stage to talk about something, I'm like, oh, whew, this is a lot. I can do it, but give me a minute.
Right.
So falling into teaching was kind of weird, but I was looking for a master's program. I wanted to go overseas, and I was like, oh, let me look into like London and South Africa. And then I was like, oh, you can only work 20 hours. So I was like, well, what am I going to do for money in these other countries? And I kept seeing ads for teaching English. Never went to get my master's, but I definitely went and started teaching English. And I've kind of been doing that and finding other ways to travel since then. So I've been traveling probably, like, I went to college at 17 in North Carolina with you. And then, you know, literally I've just been on the go ever since then. And I think that when it comes to my passion project, because I've always been a traveler, like whether it was like moving to North Carolina or moving to Australia, like I've just always done it. And what I encountered along the way were other Black women who were doing this, you know, for the first time, or hadn't done it as often, or just whatever the case may be. I would just encountered other Black women or other women in general who just didn't know much about traveling. And that kind of blew my mind, but it was because it was something that was so a part of who I am as a woman that I was just like, wow, there are people who like really don't know what they're doing.
Passport. Like, I mean, there's, you know, people that are still not 100% versed in that. And, you know, when it's something that is so like close to your heart, you don't always realize like, oh, dang, maybe people need help between now and like the Groupon deal, right? Like there's a transition phase that people need help.
I mean, like, honestly, even like this year for Christmas, everybody got a piece of luggage from me because honest to God, none of them have good luggage. And I don't, my mom cannot carry on. And I'm like, you can't carry on because you don't have the proper luggage to do it. You know, so it's like it was just from very basic things, like to all the way up. Like the fact that people want to travel to Europe in August. I'm like, that's a terrible time to go to Europe. You know, so it's just like, for me, it was a way to share the things that I've learned from traveling, that knowledge. Like it is a skill set almost.
Yes, it is.
And I think it's important for women, especially Black women, especially young Black women who want to travel and don't know how or don't know how to get started. Like for me, like that, I just jumped into it because I'm not scary.
Right.
But there are a lot of Black women who are.
Right.
I want to give them the tools and empower them to get out here and do the things that they want to do, but maybe they're afraid to.
And but what was your first, I'm trying to remember, you've been to so many places, but what was the first country that you went to as an educator? Was it Tanzania?
Tunisia. Yeah.
Sorry, Tunisia. So
yeah.
My buddy is like, I feel like this is like maybe a year after college. Not long after. Like maybe. But you know, at this point, we're all like, everyone's like working, but everyone too is like like that transitional phase from like college to like adulthood. Like adulthood is something different, right?
But friend, let's also keep in mind, because I love my millennial babies. Like when we graduated, it was 2009. Everything had crashed. Like it was hard out.
Right. No, it's hard out there for him.
You know, because we went to school in Charlotte, which was like a banking campus, and then it basically.
Fred, do you remember? So we went to school in the banking capital, but I remember bankers coming to Queens to interview for jobs, like at the cap, like people who have these multi-million-dollar homes in those positions. So imagine here you are, little Black girl coming out, nothing but your enthusiasm to kind of carry you and say, oh yeah, I need a job. So it was a very different time. And, you know, it's interesting because I wonder if that also plays into us being a little more fearless, because when, you know, situations, it's like it's fight or flight and we ain't got no time to be stuck.
I think for me, it definitely was, because like I worked hard. I got this degree. I finished. I was working at Target, which was not a terrible job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And so like it did play a little bit into that for me, because how do I put that? It played into it a little bit for me because I wanted to do something different. Like it wasn't what I envisioned for myself. And so I just kind of felt like I had nothing to lose. So like for me, it was a little bit of what fueled my fearlessness to like kind of go out. Although to be fair, I did teach English for like a year in New York while I was working at Target, just to see if it was something that I could actually do. And I was like, oh yeah, this seems cool. I can do this.
And enjoy. Joy been out ever since. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know my mom be like, hey, you know, how's Joy? And it's like, where, you know, it's like, where's Waldo or Carmen Sandiego? Because she's in a different country.
That's what Ari calls me.
I mean, but it's so beautiful to see a Black woman to live fiercely and to go in, because Joy is a different type of traveler too. So what I love about the way that you travel is it really is an immersion, and it's not like a tourist. It's not, I haven't seen you go into a place and like you're gonna be like the American of like, where's the pizza, and you know, all the local comforts. You really kind of dive in and understand like the culture and the museums, and you know, just the what always maybe isn't as publicized or marketed, and just to get to know the locals. And that's the way to do it, because I mean, you really get to take out something that is not, you're not leaving with like a souvenir, you're leaving with an experience, you're leaving with growth. And that's a different type of travel.
And I have friends for life all over the world. It's actually a really beautiful thing.
All over the world. Every time I look up, Joy's like, yeah, you know, girl, I got to go fly to Zimbabwe, or I got to fly to, you know, UAE, I got a wedding to go to. And I'm like, but for Joy, this is like, okay, it's like a Tuesday. It's like she's taking a road trip, and that it is what it is. But yeah. I love to see it. I love to see it. So, friend, we have explored, we have manifested, we have brought our content Sundays. What does 2022 hold in store for you?
2022, I am definitely doing more with my travel agency side of it. I have like 3 group trips planned for next year, so that will be.
We're gonna have to bring you back on to talk about that, because that's a whole different, beautiful experience that women of color need to be a part of and need to be informed of. So shameless plug. Actually, not so shameless plug, but go ahead, friend.
Well, hopefully in 2022, I get some of the group trips that I really am passionate about off the ground. I'm trying to like watch this COVID thing and see how that's happening. Just to keep everybody safe, but I'm really excited about the group trips happening in 2022. And then of course, just more with the IG and the blog, and trying to get that lifted out into where I want it to be. Mm-hmm. So, and for you, friend, because let's treat this like a content Sunday. We said we follow up with homework. So what does 2022 look like for Imanzi Berry?
Listen, my for my 2022, my big thing that I am, and actually I'm kicking off with a 4-week Joy Manifestation Challenge that everyone will be, I'm gonna share that on my IG and stuff. But I really want to come into a consistent alignment with Joy, because everything manifests from that place. So my focus is really how to create more of that, even in content experiences, stuff like that. And I really want to bring more women together about talking about some of these topics, whether it be, you know, full moon manifestations, type of circles, you know, meetups. Like I feel like there are so many conversations that a lot of women don't have a circle to embrace and have, right? And for me, I've been blessed, right? As I have kind of gotten older, my circle has gotten certainly smaller and smaller, but the quality there is something else. And I really want women who maybe don't have that in their life to have a forum to feel what that sisterhood, what that community really looks like, because that is a catalyst for so many things. And when we come together, there's nothing we can't do. So I really want to do that. And then, like I said, workshops. I really want to figure out how to get some workshops off the ground, and then also talking to younger women of color, talk about my healing journey and how they can kind of leverage some of this stuff, whether it be in college or high school, because, you know, if I would have known what I knew now when I was younger, whew, child, y'all, yeah, it'd be something else. It would really be something else. So I'm excited to do that and manifest that and hold that attention.
Okay. So, friend, I like those, friend. I love those.
Thank you. I love yours too. So I got one final question.
Okay.
Right? Again, this is Recovering Strong Black Woman. What is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
A piece of advice I would give my younger self?
Mm-hmm. Whatever it is.
To be honest, I think I would tell my younger self to have started investing, like investing money And like in real estate, younger. Because my brother and I were actually just talking about this at Thanksgiving. You know, we're from New York. We're from New York City. And real estate here is so expensive. And had I known at, 17, 18 years old, what I know now, sorry, I got a phone call. Let's see. So had I known at 17, 18 years old that real estate in New York, had I known anything about real estate or investing at 17, 18 years old, I definitely would have done that a lot sooner. Especially because now I feel like there's such an uptick in like remote work. And I'm really blessed because I have a job where I can get a job anywhere, but I would love to have something where I could be more flexible. So I could just work 2 months in Thailand and then jet off to Bali for, monsoon season. Like, I just wish that I had a little bit more flexibility in my traveling. And I feel like had I got into a lot of that younger, if I were more aware of those things at a younger age, I feel like that could have been something that would have turned out very differently for me, 15 years later.
Absolutely. Not to mention where we went to college was a very expensive private institution. So we came out with a couple of knocks against us, right? We were very broke college students. When I say broke, listen. We was broke. Okay. Not being broke. But you know what? That's where we were. Okay. We were broke.
We didn't have money. But I will say, when I think back on my college experience, I wouldn't have changed anything about it, because at the end of the day, like whether I'm friends with y'all still or not, we were like family. Like we really looked out for each other. And that was when that was probably like the first time I really had Black women friends, because I'm from New York. So my friends were from all over.
Yeah.
But like, that was the first time I had like a really core group of Black women friends, and it was just all love all the time. Like we fought like sisters, we loved like sisters, we took care of each other. It was a beautiful thing.
I know, we held each other down. I remember, listen, let somebody be sick, somebody going in the cast, selling some juice, selling some sandwiches, like this is real world. I remember me and Joy, one of our many jobs, Krispy Kreme, baby.
We made it work, friend.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that was, so we definitely survived a lot, but to your point, I don't regret that, because I think that has been even the thing like core class. That's like a whole different session, but the conversations that we had, even though our college was predominantly white, we really created a different experience, I think, and even some people thought that we were at a HBCU.
For sure.
No,
sure. If you look back on our pictures, I understand why. But
but the collective experience was really something different, because there really was genuine support, because we knew that, I mean, it's always difficult when you're in environments that don't necessarily reflect you or your experience. And it was good to have a support system behind there that you didn't have to explain yourself. Exactly. I thought that was beautiful. But the financial side, I completely attest. And I feel like, once again, I think it's similar to like, I think content creating a little bit, where everybody shows the glamour side, but people don't show the stuff behind the scenes. And there's still a gap of, hey, invest now, and everyone's talking about all the Bitcoins and all these different things, but there's still a barrier. There's still a part from here to there that you've got to understand, and that there's still some education that definitely has to happen. But listen, money really opens the door to opportunities, right?
Exactly.
But to your point, I definitely have more and more clarity that life for me is not tied to having $1 million home or an expensive car. Like, financial success for me is time and my flexibility. I really want to be on an island, walking in sand every morning, picking fresh mangoes off my tree. That, I feel like that's the life I was called to live. So I've got to make sure I continue to pivot so that can be my experience. So
yeah. Well, I'm about to pivot to my boss's office on Friday and let her know that will be on the Rolodex for Joy 2022.
That is also part of your attention. Well, I will be traveling internationally on these days, so you're gonna have to figure it out. Well, and that's
100% remote. So
that's fine.
We'll see what happens for 2022.
Listen, whatever we want to happen, that's what's gonna happen.
That's why I love.
And so it is. Well, Joy, thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Recovering Strong Black Woman. Please let everybody know where to find you and how to stay in contact with you. And I'll also put the information down in the description.
I am exclusively on Instagram. So just
for
now. We'll see how it expands in 2022. But you can find me at Grounded with Joy on Instagram. That is like my business page. And then my private page is
Genuine Joy.
Sorry, I really can't hear. Hold on. Let me get that pause button real quick. I probably need to go to the doctor.
This is the issue with Joy. She just got off a plane a week ago and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just can't hear out here." I'm like, "What?" Okay, we just gonna continue on like that's normal.
Listen, it'll come back. So the business page is Grounded with Joy, and then the private page is Genuine Joy of Traveling with 2 L's. It looks better the British spelling. So
it's all right. We're gonna tag them all down below.
Yep. And so that's how you can keep up with me and what is happening in Joyland.
Perfect. Well, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll tag all of Joy's contact information in the description, and we'll see you guys on tomorrow's or the next episode. Take care, y'all. Bye.